In today's video, we are going to be studying water. And here we have the outline of what we'll be discussing. The polar nature of water, high specific heat capacity, heat of vaporization, anomalous expansion, and autoionization. Now, this study is focused on water and its importance in the biological system. Okay, now water, as we know, is a polar solvent. Okay, so water is a polar solvent. And what does this mean? Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Okay, H2O. Now, the bond between the 2 hydrogen atoms and the oxygen atom is a polar covalent bond. Considering hydrogen and oxygen, these are 2 different atoms, okay? And these 2 different atoms have different electronegativity. Electronegativity is the degree to which an atom in a molecule pulls on the shared pair of electrons. Now, hydrogen and oxygen have different electronegativity value, and the electronegativity of oxygen is much higher than the electronegativity of hydrogen. This means that oxygen has a stronger grip on the electron shared between the 2 species. The electron cloud is shared asymmetrically, okay, with more on the oxygen side. Okay, this means that oxygen has a partial negative charge because the electrons are more towards its side. The shared pairs of electron are closer to the oxygen side, and hydrogen has a partial positive charge. Okay, now the bond angle between the oxygen and the hydrogen is about 105 degrees, and water has a bent shape or a V shape. Okay, now why is this polar nature of water so important? This polar nature of water is important because it plays a key role in solubility. Okay, now water is generally referred to as a universal solvent, and this is because it's able to dissolve a wide array of substances, and its ability to dissolve this wide array of substances, it's because of its polar nature. Okay, so we have ionic substances being dissolved in water, and other polar covalent substances like alcohol and sugar are also able to dissolve in water, and this is of great importance in the biological system. Okay, now water also has a high specific heat capacity. Now, heat capacity or specific heat capacity is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. Now, the specific heat capacity of water is 4.2 joules per gram per degree Celsius. Now, as compared to a lot of other liquids, water has a relatively high specific heat capacity, and this simply means that water can absorb a large amount of heat energy without a significant change in its temperature. And this is of importance because the metabolic activities that take place in the cell lead to the generation of heat energy. And because water has a high specific heat capacity, water is able to absorb all of this heat energy without a significant change in temperature. And this is important because the body and cells are made up of proteins, and these proteins and enzymes work at specific temperature range. So a significant change in temperature could actually denature these proteins in the cell. Okay, the next property of water I would be considering is the heat of vaporization. Similar to the specific heat capacity of water, which has to do with change in temperature of water, the amount of heat required to change 1 gram of water by a unit Celsius, or unit temperature, unit change in temperature. The heat of vaporization is the amount of heat needed to change water in its liquid form to water in the gaseous form at the same temperature. Now, the specific, or rather the heat capacity of water is about 586 calories. Okay, so this is the amount of heat energy required to change water in its liquid state to water in the gaseous state, okay, without a change in temperature. Now, why is this of importance? Due to the high heat of vaporization of water, when we sweat and the sweat or the water in the sweat is evaporated, we actually experience a cooling effect. Okay, so the cooling effect of evaporation, or the cooling effect of vaporization, is due to the high heat of vaporization of water. Okay, the next property of water we'll be considering is the anomalous expansion of water. Now, why is the anomalous expansion of water so important? Generally, when a substance is heated, okay, it experiences an increase in volume. Okay, it could experience an increase in volume, increase in length, or an increase in area. And from physics, we know this as cubic expansivity, linear expansivity, and superficial expansivity. Now, unlike most substances, water doesn't exactly follow this rule of expansion, which is that matter expands with addition of heat. Okay, now as water is being heated from 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, water actually experiences contraction rather than expansion. Okay, so water contracts from this range of temperature from 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius. Now, why is this of importance? This is of importance because water actually has its highest density at 4 degrees Celsius. Okay, so water continually contracts from 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius. So we have a decrease in volume. And we know that density is mass divided by volume. From this expression, we can see that density is inversely proportional to volume. So a decrease in volume leads to an increase in density. And because water has its lowest volume at 4 degrees Celsius, it means that it has its highest density at this temperature. Now, this is of importance in aquatic life because it means that water actually doesn't solidify throughout. So when we have a water body such as this one, the water doesn't solidify all through. Okay, so we have water at 4 degrees Celsius, which is still liquid at the base. Then we have 3 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius, 1 degree Celsius, and then we have water, ice water at 0 degrees Celsius that actually insulates the rest of the liquid water from freezing up completely. So water bodies don't freeze up completely, entirely, and this actually helps aquatic life to survive. Okay, the next property of water I would be considering is autoionization. Now, water is able to undergo autoionization, forming hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion. Okay, and this is of importance, as we would see, in the acid, base, and buffer system. These are essential properties of water that actually help make water such an important solvent, and water is regarded as the cradle of life. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching till the end.